25th, 2022. Hopefully you have had a good weekend so far. It has been interesting for us. Watched a little bit of college football. Michigan struggled. Ohio State rolled. My Tar Heels did not look good. Our baseball team we played yesterday did not look good either. But on Sunday, it's an NFL Sunday. It's going to be an action-packed full day. I'm looking outside and I don't see a cloud in sight. The sun is out. We're going to hit mid-70s today. It's going to be a perfect Sunday. And when you get down to Indianapolis, downtown, where the Fighting Colts are playing, there's all kinds of fun stuff going on. I am not going. We got stuff going on today. And tickets were getting really expensive. So no Colts game for us. We're going to watch it here on the big screen. But we're going to go through some week 3 matchups and let's talk about who we think is going to win, right? So this is not only a live stream, but we got the chat activated. So please comment below while we're going through a game who you think is going to win. And we will talk some football here. So the first game we're going to talk about, Saints at Panthers. 1-1 Saints, 0-2 Panthers. This one is in Carolina, 1 o'clock kickoff. Let's see. Saints have won 5 out of 6. The last game, the Panthers 10, Saints 18. And when you really kind of look at this, Panthers really need to win, right? Divisional game, Saints need to win too. But Panthers 0-2. If you look at the Saints last week, they lost 20-10 to Tampa. They are averaging 18 points a game, 23 points against. Famous Jameis has had a pretty good start to the season. 9 touchdowns and 1 interception and 103 rating. His past 4 road starts. Has a 100-plus rating in 6 of his 7 road starts against the NFC South. So all kinds of stats there. Alvin Kamara has 803 scrimmage yards in his past 7 road games. Had 100 scrimmage yards in the last meeting and has 4 rushing touchdowns against Carolina and Carolina. So look for Kamara to have a big game if the stats continue. Mark Ingram, I said that really weird, but Mark Ingram rushed for 60 yards last week, has 534 scrimmage yards, 3 rushing touchdowns his past 6 games at Carolina. Aims for his 7th game in a row with 7+ scrimmage yards. Michael Thomas, 6 catches for 65 yards in week 2. That was a team high in catches. 1 of 5 receivers with 5+ receptions and a touchdown in each of the first 2 weeks. Has 5+ catches in 3 of his 4 games against Carolina and Charlotte. Jarvis Landry, 111 scrimmage yards in his last game versus Carolina. Had a receiving touchdown in his only career game at Carolina. Chris Olave had 5 catches for a team high 80 yards last week. Cameron Jordan, 8 tackles and 3.5 sacks in the last meeting. Looks for his 3rd game in a row against Carolina with a tackle for loss. Leonard Davis had 7 career fumble recoveries, had his 7th career fumble recovery in week 2 and 12 tackles in the last road meeting and aims for his 4th in a row versus Carolina. The Panthers last week lost 19-16 to the Giants. Matt Rule is 1-3 against the Saints. They are 20 points for, 22 against. Baker Mayfield had 0 touchdown passes and had a touchdown pass versus 0 interceptions last week. Had 2 touchdowns versus an INT in week 1 against Cleveland. I don't know what that's a weird stat. He's got 3 touchdown passes and 1 pick. That's weird. Christian McCaffrey had 128 scrimmage yards in week 2. Has 26 games with 125 scrimmage yards since 2017, most in the NFL. Has 3,718 scrimmage yards and 28 touchdowns in 30 career games and aims for his 3rd in a row at home with a touchdown. DJ Moore had 43 receiving yards and his 15th career touchdown last week. Robbie Anderson has 5+ catches and 50+ receiving yards in 2 of his past 3. Aims for his 5th in a row at home with 5+ receptions. Brian Burns had 2 sacks in week 2. His 3rd career 2-sack game, and has 4 sacks in 5 career games versus New Orleans. Shaq Thompson had 10 tackles last week, has 7+ tackles in 5 of his last 6 versus New Orleans. Xavier Woods had 10 tackles in week 2, is one of 3 DBs with 10 tackles in each of the first 2 weeks. This game's on 1 o'clock. Fox has your coverage on Sirius XM radio as well. I mean, do you think the Panthers are ever going to turn around with Mark or with Matt Rule? I mean, you would think this would be the day, right? The Carolina passing game needs to improve a little bit. I think it's been okay, but I think Baker sometimes is running around like crazy. I think the Saints get it done. I think their offense is going to be too much for the Panthers. I think the Panthers, they're turning the ball. Both are turning the ball over. They're both -3 in the giveaway, takeaway. But I think that the Saints offense is going to be too much. I think Dennis Allen's going to have a better plan than Mark Rule and or Matt Rule, whatever. See, I'm messing up his name. But I think the Panthers go to 0-3, and I think the Saints go to 2-1. That's a really, really tough game. I mean, that's a really. Hang on a second. We're gonna look at the spread. We're gonna look at the spread. See as we make our final decision. But I'm leaning Saints. Saints are 2.5-point favorites. So I would bet the Saints take the points and see if they get the job done. I just don't trust the Panthers. I don't think they have the horses. Texans at Bears, the Lovie Smith revenge game. We've got Texans the Bears 3-point favorites in Chicago. This one's at Soldier Field. Texans are 0-1-1, and the Bears are 1-1. 1 o'clock. The Texans lead the all-time series 4-1. Texans have won 4 out of 5. The last game was in 2020. Texans 7, Bears 36. Last week, the Texans were losers at Denver 16-9. The Bears lost at Green Bay 27-10. The Texans 14.5 points for, 18 points against. Bears 14.5 for, 18.5 against. So these teams are very, very similar. This one's in Chicago, 1 o'clock on CBS. If you look at a few of the stats, Davis Mills aims for his 4th start in a row with no picks. Damian Pierce led the team with 77 scrimmage yards last week, most by a Houston rookie in a single game since 2017. He leads the rookies with 102 rushing yards this season. Rex Burkhead aims for his 3rd in a row with versus the NFC with 65 scrimmage yards. Some of these stats are crazy, aren't they? Nico Collins led the team with 58 receiving yards in week 2. He has 50-plus receiving yards in 2 of the past 3. O.J. Howard, the tight end that the Texans picked up late, is the only tight end in the NFL with 2 receiving touchdowns, thanks to our Colts. Christian Kirksey had a half sack and an interception last week, aims for his 5th in a row with 5+ tackles. Jonathan Grenard had a sack last week, aims for his 3rd in a row with tackle for loss. Derek Stingley Jr., a rookie, had 8 tackles and 2 pass deflections in week 2. Bears, Justin Fields had 3rd career rushing touchdown in week 2, aims for his 3rd start in a row at home with a TD pass. And an 85 rating. It's a weird stat. David Montgomery, the running back, had 136 scrimmage yards in week 2, his 15th career game with 100+ scrimmage yards. Darnell Mooney has 5+ catches and 9 of the last 10 at home and 60+ reception yards in 2 of the past 3 at home. Robert Quinn had a 1st sack of the season last year, ranked 2nd among active players with 31 forced fumbles and 6th among active players with 102 career sacks. Has 11.5 sacks and 12 tackles per loss in his last 9 games at home. Roquan Smith had 11 tackles last week, 27 games with 10+ tackles since 2018, 2nd most in the NFL. Justin Jones tied the career high with 8 tackles and 2 tackle for losses in week 2. And Eddie Jackson had 9 tackles and a tackle for loss last year, has a tackle for loss in 2 of the past 3 at home. So the Bears are lying a couple here. I've watched the Texans. I don't trust the Texans. Nobody trusts the Bears, but I think Justin Fields gets it done. I don't think the Texans offense has enough. Neither offense has enough to do anything, really. But I trust Justin Fields making some plays at the end with David Montgomery over Davis Mills and Damian Pierce. I think that the Bears get it done at home. I think they win. I think they cover. And somehow I think the Bears are going to be over 500. So, there you go. Interesting game. Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs at my Indianapolis Colts, Lucas Oil Stadium. 1 o'clock is the kickoff time. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. I lay that all day. I put all the money we got on it. I don't think the Colts have a chance. That was not me taking a sip of tea, saying boom. I was getting thirsty. Excuse me, a little morning congestion here. Chiefs 2-0, Colts 0-1-1. Colts lead the all-time series 13-9. Colts have won 3 out of 4. Last time they played was in 19. Colts 19, Chiefs 13. Last week, the Chiefs beat the Chargers on Thursday Night Football 27-24. Last week, the Colts lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-0 in Jacksonville. Chiefs 35 points a game, 22 against. Colts 10 points a game against 22. 10 points a game. That's 10 points a game. Yo. That's awful. 1 o'clock, CBS, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, huh? Big Sunday afternoon game here in Indianapolis when we get Nantz and Romo. Hopefully the Colts can stick with them. Anyway, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes passed for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions with a 106 passing rating last week. Aims for his 8th game in a row with 2 touchdown passes, 6 in a row with 0 picks. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 118 scrimmage yards, his 6th career game with 100-plus scrimmage yards. Jackson McKinnon had a touchdown pass in week 2, or touchdown catch, I'm sorry. Travis Kelce had a team-high 5 catches for 51 yards last week. Aims for his 5th game in a row with a touchdown catch on the road. Juju Smith-Schuster, 5-plus catches, 95 receiving yards, and a touchdown catch in 2 of the last 3 games against Indianapolis. Chris Jones had 2 sacks and a pass deflection in week 2, his 10th career game with 2-plus sacks, aims for his 3rd in a row with a pass deflection. Matt Ryan passed for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and no picks for a 121.1 passer rating his last start versus Kansas City. Has 8 touchdown passes versus an interception and 1. That's a weird stat. Jonathan Taylor has 1,156 scrimmage yards and 9 rushing touchdowns in 9 home games last season. Aims for his 3rd in a row versus the AFC West with 100-plus scrimmage yards and a rushing touchdown. Michael Pittman Jr., who's back playing today, has 45 receiving yards in 6 of his 9 home games last season. Shaquille Leonard will not be playing. Zaire Franklin had 10 tackles and a tackle for a loss in week 2, his 2nd career game with 10-plus tackles. DeForest Buckner had his 1st tackle for a loss last week, aims for his 5th in a row at home. Stephen Gilmore had 5 tackles and a pass deflection last week, had a forced fumble in his last game versus Kansas City. Take the Chiefs all day. Don't trust the Colts. Don't trust the coaching. Don't trust the coaching staff. Don't trust what's going on there. Don't trust the fire in the locker room. I love Matt Ryan. I think he was the guy, but obviously I was wrong because the offensive line stinks. He's running for his life. Nobody's getting open. It's a terrible situation. What makes me the most frustrated here, and I'm not going to go on a tangent about my Colts, is all winter, all summer, everybody kept saying they have no offensive line, they have no receivers besides Pittman. They have questions on the offensive line they keep giving contracts to. There's no pass rush. What are we doing? And the front office just kept snickering and laughing, saying, oh, you guys don't know as much as us. We know what we're doing. And here we are. The Colts are 0-1-1. They've got a really, really tough game coming up. And before they know it, they're going to be 0-2-1. I don't think this one is close. I think the Chiefs run them absolutely out of their own building. And we'll see. Is this enough to make a change? Is this enough for Jim Irsay to get upset, frustrated, mad, make a change? We'll see. I think the Chiefs all day. But it would be the Colts to win, right? Of course. It would be the Colts to somehow pull off a victory today, but I don't think so. Bills at Dolphins. This is going to be a great game. 2-0 Bills, 2-0 Dolphins. Bills Mafia is already there. Pat McAfee is at the game. He was showing some video, and there are tons of Bills fans. This is at the Hard Rock Stadium, 1 o'clock today. Dolphins lead the all-time series 60-51-1. Bills have won 7 in a row. The last game, the Dolphins 11, Bills 26. So we'll see what happens here. The Bills 36 points a game against 8.5 points a game. The Dolphins 31 points a game against 22. Mike McDaniel has really kind of brought the Dolphins back to life. It's going to be a fantastic game down in Miami. 1 o'clock kickoff. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green. It's on CBS. There's a lot of different stats, especially with Tua and Josh Allen. We'll look at that, but let's look at the spread real quick first. It's a 4.5-point favorites for the Buffalo Bills. So history says that they're in a good shape. They've won 7 in a row, like we mentioned. They're scoring a lot of points, 36 a game. They've looked really good the first 2 weeks. Josh Allen passed for 317 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last week, his 5th game, 4 touchdowns and no picks since 2020. Devin Singletary rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown in the last road meeting. Aims for his 3rd in a row versus the division with 75 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. Stefon Diggs had 12 catches, 148 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns last week. His 3rd career game with 3 touchdowns. Von Miller had a tackle for loss and a pass deflection in week 2 and aims for his 5th in a row with the tackle for loss. Mike Milano had 2 pass deflections, tackle for loss, and 1st career interception touchdown in week 2. Had a sack in this last road meeting. Aims for his 3rd in a row versus Miami with the tackle for loss. Tua set his career high in pass yards, 469, touchdown passes 6, and rating 124.1 last week. Chase Edmonds had 77 scrimmage yards, an only career game versus Buffalo in 2020. Tyreek Hill had 11 catches for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns last week, the most receiving yards in a single game this season. Has 8 career touchdowns with 150-plus receiving yards, tied for most in the NFL since 2016. Jaylen Waddle, 11 catches for a career-high 171 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 2. He aims for his 4th game in a row with a receiving touchdown. Hill and Waddle became the first pair of teammates ever with 10 catches, 150-plus yards, and 2 reception touchdowns in the same game. Christian Wilkins had a career-high 1.5 sacks last week, aims for his 5th in a row with a tackle for loss. So this is a really tough game to pick, right? Miami's fans are going to be crazy. There's going to be a ton of Bills fans there. I think the Bills are just absolutely on fire. They're a machine. I think it's going to be really, really tough for the Dolphins to get the job done, but they always find a way. Their offense is so explosive. If you look at the Bills, we think the Bills' offense is unstoppable. They're at 36 a game. The Dolphins are at 31. They're right there. The Bills are averaging 413 yards a game. The Dolphins are actually more, 427. So I think it's going to be really, really close. Tua looks really, really good out there. I think the Bills get the job done. They're 4.5-point favorites. I think that they win and they cover. This is one of those, it would not surprise me if the Dolphins won the game outright. It really wouldn't. I think this is a really, really, really solid game. I can't believe Nance and Romo are here in Indy for this game rather than in Miami for this one. This one seems like a gigantic game. It's definitely one that we're going to kind of be keeping an eye on, even though we're going to be watching the Colts game, because that's just going to be really good football. The offensive explosion that both teams could have. The Bills defense why I'm picking the Bills is I think the Bills defense will keep Miami under wraps more than what the Miami defense will do to the Bills. So you could convince me either way, but I think the Bills get the job done. Another 1 o'clock kickoff in Minnesota. Lions 1-1, Vikings 1-1. This one is at US Bank Stadium in Minnesota. The Vikings lead the all-time series 79-40-2. Vikings have won 8 out of 9. The last game, last December, Vikings 27, Lions 29. Last week, the Lions beat Washington. They held on 36-27. The Minnesota Vikings went to Philadelphia, looked awful, and lost 24-7. Lions, 35 points a game, giving up 32. Vikings scoring 15, giving up 15. So, 2 different teams here. The Lions offense is cruising. The Vikings offense is struggling. The Viking looks really good the first week, looks really bad the second week. Lions kind of flipped that. They almost beat the Eagles in week 1, and then they held on to beat Washington in week 2. This is a division game. Dane Campbell will be ready to roll. We'll see what happens. Jared Goff passed for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns in is aiming for his 5th game in a row with 2 touchdown passes. DeAndre Swift had 87 scrimmage yards, his 5th career touchdown catch last week, aims for his 4th in a row with a touchdown. Aiden Hutchinson, in the 4th youngest player since 1982, with 3 sacks in a single game, and the first player since 2002 with 3+ sacks in his first or second career game. Kirk Cousins has 2,500 passing yards and 21 touchdowns versus 2 picks and 9 career starts versus Detroit. He looks really good against Detroit. Passed for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns in their last meeting. Dalvin Cook has 3,000 scrimmage yards in 27 career home games and 100+ scrimmage yards in 3 of his last 4 at home. Justin Jefferson, 30 receptions for 500 yards and a touchdown catch in 4 career games versus Detroit. Adam Thielen has team high 52 receiving yards last week. That's not very good. Jordan Hicks had his 12th career interception last week. Harrison Smith led the team with 13 tackles last week and an interception in 2 of his last 3 games at home versus Detroit. So Minnesota, 6-point favorites at home. I take the Lions all day. I trust in the Lions. I don't know if it's still because I'm liking what I saw on Hard Knocks. I don't know why I do, but I think the Lions get the job done. I think not only that they cover, but I think they win outright. I think that defense is going to do the exact same thing up front against Kirk Cousins. Now, their secondary stinks. Their secondary's got major issues, but I think that they put enough pressure on them, and I think that running game with those short passes is going to get the job done for the Lions. I think that they win and cover. I think that they do. I really do. I don't trust Minnesota. A lot of people do. I know their offense is potent with a lot of receivers, but it's still Kirk Cousins, and I don't trust him. So there you have it there. Now, let's move into New England up in Foxborough. Gillette Stadium, 1 o'clock kickoff. The 1-1 Ravens, the 1-1 Patriots. The Patriots lead the all-time series 9-2. Patriots have won 3 out of 4. The last game was in 2020. Patriots 23, Ravens 17. Baltimore lost to Miami last week, 42-39. The Patriots beat Pittsburgh 17-14. 31 points a game, letting up 25 for the Ravens, scoring 12, letting up 17 for the Patriots. Lamar Jackson, 21-29, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, rushed for 119 yards and a touchdown last week. His 11th career game with 100+ rushing yards, passing Michael Vick. J.K. Dobbins can make his season debut, and I think he's supposed to be on the field. We'll see what happens. Kenyon Drake rushed for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns his last game versus New England. Mark Andrews had a team-high 9 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown last week. Marcus Williams had 10 tackles and a career-high 2 picks in his week 2 and is one of 2 in the NFL with an interception in these last 2 games. Justin Houston has a sack in each of the first 2 games of the season, aims for his 6th in a row versus the AFC East, and a sack in a 3rd in a row versus New England. Marcus Peters had a pass deflection in the season debut last week, had a tackle for loss in their last meeting. Mac Jones completed 21 of 35, 252 yards last week, has 4 touchdown passes and 2 career starts versus the AFC North. Damian Harris had 87 yards out of scrimmage last week. First rushing touchdown of the season. Jacoby Myers had a team-high 9 catches and 95 yards last week. I don't think he's playing today. They keep going back and forth. There were 3 different reports earlier that he's playing, not playing, not, and then he's going to play. So we'll see what happens there. Christian Barmore had his first sack of the season last week. Devin McCourty had a pass deflection last week. His pass deflection 5 to 6 games versus Baltimore. This one is in New England. Sounds like the weather is going to be just fine. Ravens are 2.5-point favorites. I take the Ravens. I still don't think the Patriots offense is that good. I think they beat up on a Steelers defense that we've seen is not up to Steelers standard. So I think the Ravens come in and have a field day all over that defense, and I think that they really keep Mac Jones under wraps. I think that they struggle, and I think the Ravens win and cover the 2.5 points. Okay, our next game, the Bengals at the Jets. This is at MetLife Stadium in New York, 1 o'clock kickoff. The Jets lead the all-time series 16-10. Bengals have won 3 out of 4. The last game was in 21. The Bengals 31, Jets 24. Excuse me. This game's on CBS. Got Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, 1 o'clock kickoff. The Bengals 18 points a game, letting up 21. The Jets 20 a game, letting up 27. The Bengals need a win in a bad way. Joe Burrow passed for 199 yards and a touchdown last week. Joe Mixon had a team high 83 scrimmage yards. Jamar Chase aims for his third in a row with 5+ catches and 5+ receiving yards. 50+ receiving yards. Jesse Bates had interception in their last meeting. Von Bell lead the team with 7 tackles and a tackle for a loss and a forced fumble last week. The Jets, Joe Flacco passed for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. Michael Carter, 50+ scrimmage yards in 4 of the last 5 games. Corey Davis, 83 receiving yards in his first touchdown of the season last year. Ashton Davis had his 3rd career pick last week. C.J. Mosley had 7 tackles and a tackle for loss last week. I don't know. Nobody trusts the Bengals offensive line, as we shouldn't. Bengals are favored by 6. I take the Bengals. I think they get right today. I don't think that the Jets pass rush will hurt that bad. I don't think the pass rush will do that much. I think that the Bengals get on track today. I think they get well. Would it surprise me if the Jets win? No. That's kind of the league that we're in, right? Nobody really would surprise you if somebody gets the win. But I really, truly think that the Bengals get right. I think the Bengals get it together. And I think that they not only do some good stuff today, but I think that they look really, really good doing it. I think the Jets are going to be up and down all season. They're going to be all over the place, and I think that it's going to kind of find their level today. I think Joe Burrow is going to get that ball out of there quick. All we've heard all week is he's on pace to get sacked 4,000 times, whatever the number is. I think they're going to adjust things. I think he's going to get the ball out quick, and I think that the Bengals get right, cover the 6 points, and win the game. Okay, 1 o'clock game, Raiders at Titans. Sorry, my throat. I have stuff in my throat and it's annoying. 1 o'clock game, 0-2 Raiders, 0-2 Texans. 0-2 Raiders, 0-2 Titans. Nissan Stadium, 1 o'clock kickoff. Ooh. This is going to be an interesting game. And the Raiders lead the all-time series 26-21. Raiders have won 3 out of 4. Their last game, the Titans 42, Raiders 21. That was in 2019. 1 o'clock game on Fox, Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma. Raiders are 21 points a game, letting up 26. Titans 13 scoring, letting up 31. Holy cow. This is a big game for both teams. Big game for both teams. The Titans come to Indianapolis next week. They have to get a win in a big, big, big way. They have been pushed around. Their defense has looked awful. Their offense has looked awful. Ryan Tannehill has not looked good at all. Is it Malik Harris? Or is it... Oh my gosh. Is it Malik Willis time? That's what I'm trying to say. Derrick Henry, he's got to get going, right? Derek Carr passed for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Josh Jacobs had 81 scrimmage yards, led the team. Devontae Adams had a touchdown catch. Last week, Hunter Renfrow led the team with 7 catches, 59 yards. Max Crosby had his first sack of the season last week. Chandler Jones had a career high 5 sacks and tied career high with 2 forced fumbles in his last game versus Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill completed 21 of 27 passes, 391 yards, 3 touchdowns in their last meeting. Derrick Henry had his first rushing touchdown last week, rushed for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns in their last meeting. Austin Hooper had 3 catches with 84 yards in his only career game versus the Raiders a few years back. Robert McCreary led the team with 11 tackles last week, tied most by a rookie in a single game this season. This is a big, big game. And what's it come down to? It's going to come down to turnovers. The Titans are -3. The Raiders are -3. I think if the Raiders can control the ball, take care of it, they get the win. I do not trust the Titans offensive line. I do not trust Tannehill. And I don't trust their secondary. I know their secondary was good. It held them together last year. But this year so far, it has not looked good. So I'm taking the Raiders. Let's see where this game is. They are 1.5 point favorites. I take them all stinking day. I do. I think that they get the job done. I think they go into Tennessee, and I mean Tennessee has the potential to have a really, really rough season. If they lose this one and then they lose next week in Indy, they're going to be 0-4 in really, really tough shape. So I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. I trust Derek Carr more. I think Vrabel's a better coach, but I think that this one's going to be all Raiders all day. Eagles at Commanders, another 1 o'clock kickoff at FedEx Field. 2-0 Eagles, 1-1 Commanders. Commanders led the on-time. The Commodores lead the all-time series. I heard that. I thought it was funny. 87-81. The Eagles have won the last two. Eagles scoring 31 a game, letting up 21. The Washington team 27 a game, letting up 29. This one's on Fox, 1 o'clock. All kinds of stuff you can look at. At the end of the day, the Eagles are 6.5-point favorites. Jalen Hurts. What can you say? He had a touchdown. And 2 rushing touchdowns last week. A.J. Brown, 5 catches last week. Carson Wentz has actually looked pretty decent for Washington. I think the offensive weapons for the Eagles gets the job done. I think they have too much out there. They're going to look too good. I don't think that the Washington defense can keep up. I don't think that the offense can keep up, even though they have. Antonio Gibson had a 19th career rushing touchdown last week. Terry McLaurin looks really good, 75 receiving yards last week, 5+ reception yards in 5 of his 6 career games versus Philly. Curtis Samuel had 7 catches, 99 scrimmage yards. They look really, really good on offense. I just think the Eagles are too much. I think they're going to be too athletic, too quick, too powerful. And I really like Jalen Hurts. I really think he's doing some good things. So I pick the Eagles to go into Washington and get the win. Jaguars at Chargers, a 4 o'clock kickoff at SoFi Stadium, 1-1 on each side. The Chargers lead the all-time series 9-3. They've won the last 2. The last game they played was in 2020. Chargers 39, Jags 29. Last week the Jags shut out Indianapolis. Last week the Chargers lost to Kansas City. Justin Herbert is questionable with those ribs. It sounds like he will play. They're averaging 24 a game, letting up 23. The Jags are scoring 23, letting up 14. This one is on CBS with Greg Gumbel. At the end of the day, I trust the Chargers offense more than I trust the Jaguars. The Jaguars' pass defense is tough. Their secondary is getting better. I just don't think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be that great I shouldn't say not great. He's going to struggle when he doesn't come back, take 3 steps, and get rid of it quick. If there's no pass rush, then he's going to look really, really good. Travis Etienne had looks for his 3rd game in a row with 50+ scrimmage yards. James Robinson had 70+ scrimmage yards and a rushing touchdown last week. Christian Kirk had 6 receptions last week, 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. If they don't have their offense flowing like it was last week with no pass rush coming at them, they're mixing in that running game, then they're going to hang around. But I think the Chargers are too good. Austin Eckler, 94 scrimmage yards last week, a team high 9 catches last week as well. They're 3.5-point favorites. I would take them all day. Keenan Allen had 10 catches for 125 yards in their last meeting. Khalil Mack has 0.5 sacks in each of the first 2 games of the season. Joey Bosa into his 3rd game in a row with the tackle for loss. I think that the Chargers get the job done. I think Herbert will play, but I think they're going to kind of limit him in what he does. I think that they roll easily. Rams 1-1, Cardinals 1-1. This one's at State Farm Stadium. 4:25 in Arizona. The Rams lead the all-time series 45-39-2. Rams have won 9 out of 10. The last game 30-23. The Rams got the win. Last week the Rams beat Atlanta 31-27. The Cardinals beat Las Vegas 29-23 in that magical comeback. 20 points a game, letting up 29 for the Rams. Cardinals scoring 25, letting up 33. This one's at 4:25 on Fox. And if you look at the spread on this one, it's 3.5-point favorites for the Rams. I take that all day. I think they're the better team. I still don't trust the Cardinals. I think that they're fine. I think they're going to win some games like they did last week here and there. I just think at the long term, they're not going to get the job done. So I think the Rams get the win. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks last week for Stafford. Darrell Henderson 11th career rushing touchdown last week. Cooper Kupp led the team with 11 receptions, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bobby Wagner aimed for his 3rd in a row with a sack. Jalen Ramsey had his 16th career interception last week. Kyler Murray passed for 277 and 2 touchdowns last week. In their last meeting. He has 21 touchdowns in his past 8 road starts. James Conner, I think he's playing today. Kind of go back and forth with him. Tyler Ertz. Tyler Ertz. Jeez. Combining people. Zach Ertz led the team with 8 receptions, 75 yards last week. J.J. Watt had his first sack of the season. I'm taking the Rams. I think they're too good. I think they're powerful. I think that offense is going to keep rolling. Falcons at Seahawks. 0-2 Falcons, 1-1 Seahawks. This is at Lumen Field up in Seattle, 425. Seahawks lead the series 12-6. They've won 4 of the 5. The last game was in 2020. Seahawks 39, Falcons 25. Falcons lost to the Rams last week. Seahawks lost to the 49ers. 26 points a game, letting up 29 for the Falcons. 12 a game for the Seahawks, letting up 21. I don't even need to look at the spread. I already know who I'm picking. I'm picking the Seahawks at home. They're 1-point favorites. This is going to be, it's at 4 o'clock on Fox. This is not going to be a fun game to watch. Geno Smith versus Marcus Mariota. Both teams' defenses are kind of iffy. I really think that I think the Seahawks just make a few more plays. That's why it's a 1-point spread. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I think that Cordell Patterson will look good or better for the Falcons. But I think that Rashard Penny, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, those guys get going, and I think the Seahawks take the victory. Another 4 o'clock game, kind of the big one, right? The big one of the weekend. We got 2 more to talk about here on the Sunday. The big one, Packers 1-1, the Bucks 2-0. This one is in Raymond James Stadium down in Tampa at 425. Kickoff, the Bucks are 1-point favorite, kind of another flip 'em game. Packers lead the on-time series 32-22. Packers have won 3 out of 4. The last game was in 2020. Bucks 38, Packers 10. Last week, the Packers got right against Chicago. Last week, the Bucks got right against New Orleans. 17 points a game, letting up 16 for the Packers. 19 a game for the Bucks, letting up 6.5. So the Bucks defense is really, really good. I think that the Packers go in, and I think that they expose that Tom Brady offensive line that's hurt. I think that their pass rush gets after him. I think Rashawn Gary had a sack and 2 tackles for loss last week. Preston Smith led the team in 7 tackles and 2 sacks last week. I think that they get the job done. Jair Alexander had a 6th career interception last week. I think that he continues it going. I think on offense, the A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones combination will be really good for Green Bay. I think Tampa, of course, will keep it close. Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, I think that they're going to look really, really good. Devin White had 11 tackles last week. I think that he has to continue to lead that defense. Levante David had his 27th career sack last week. I think it's going to be a really, really good, close game. Antonio Winfield Jr., 6th career sack last week. Of course, we all know about Tom Brady. It's going to be a great game. All eyes are going to be on this game. But I think Aaron Rodgers and the Pack go down there and get the job. I think they get the job done. I think that they get the win. I think they cover. It's only a 1-point spread. But I think that Aaron Rodgers and I think their front will be too much for the Bucks defense offensive line. 49ers at Broncos, our last game we're going to talk about. This is an 8:20 game tonight, Sunday Night Football. 1.5-point favorite for 49ers and Jimmy G. Both teams are 1-1. This is at Denver, 8:20 kickoff. All-time series is tied 7-7. 49ers have won 3 out of 4. Their last meeting was in 2018. 49ers 20, Broncos 14. Last week, the 49ers beat the Seahawks 27-7. The Broncos beat Houston 16-9. 49ers are scoring 18 a game, letting up 13. The Broncos are scoring 16, letting up 13. Everything around, this is an 8:20 kickoff on NBC, Sunday Night Football. Jimmy G, obviously everybody's talked about him. He's got his bonus that he's getting. He passed for 154 yards, had 2 touchdowns, 1 pass, 1 rush in week 2. Jeff Wilson had 103 scrimmage yards last week. Deebo Samuel, 5 catches, 97 scrimmage yards. I think that, well, let's talk about the Broncos for a second. Russell Wilson passed for 219 yards and a touchdown. Javonte Williams, 85 scrimmage yards. Melvin Gordon aims for his 5th in a row with 50-plus scrimmage yards. Kareem Jackson had 6 tackles, 5-plus tackles in 3 of his past 4 games. Alex Singleton had 5 tackles and a career-high 2 pass deflections last week. I think that the 49ers go in and get the job done. I really, really like their whole team. I think that they are very, very, very good. I still don't completely trust the Broncos. I know that they're going to let Russ cook, and I know that they're going to have more of the offense centered around him. But ultimately, I think that the 49ers are going to go in, get the job done. I think that defense will really put the clamps on the Broncos all night. And Jimmy G, as much as the 49ers did not want him and they wanted to trade him, he gets the job done. He makes he keeps the team in it. He makes enough plays to win. And I think that they go on the road and get the win tonight in Denver. So that'll make the AFC West a little interesting, right? I'm sorry, NFC West a little interesting, right? If the 49ers actually get the win, we got the Seahawks that are 1-1. They're hosting the Falcons. I think that they're going to win. And then the other game, the 1-1 games, the Rams and the Cardinals. So we got everybody out west at 1-1. The Rams, I think, will go to 2-1. I think the 49ers will go to 2-1. That puts the Cardinals and the I think the 49ers. I think all three. I think the only team that will be 1-2 will be the Cardinals. So I think that NFC West will be really, really interesting. It'll continue to be tight all season, but that's what we got. The big one here in Indianapolis, of course, the Chiefs coming to town for the Colts. I do not trust the Colts at all. I think the Chiefs absolutely run them out of the building. Excuse me. A couple other fun games to keep an eye on. The Lovie Smith return to Chicago. That one will be a cool one to kind of watch. The Bills and the Dolphins. I think that's the game of the day. I think that one's the early game. It's going to be awesome. The next one will be the Packers. The Battle of the Bay, right? Green Bay and Tampa Bay. I think that one will be cool. I think Green Bay will get the job done. And then the night game, Sunday Night Football is always fun too. I think that the 49ers get the job done there. So that's it. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate all of you chiming in, being here, being part of the conversation, and watching it. So it's a Sunday morning. We're going to go get our morning started and get ready for some football. We'll probably chime in during the day to talk. Hopefully it's not about how crappy the Colts are playing, but I have a feeling it will be. So thank you so much for being here. Let me know who your winners are. Comment below, especially Chiefs, Colts. Let me know. Bills, Dolphins. And then the Battle of the Bay, Green Bay and Tampa Bay. Let me know. Comment below. Let me know who is winning. Have a great Sunday, friends.